Hello and welcome to the gak.co.uk Guitar Shop podcast. I am your host Mark Packham. Who is with me this evening?
Hello, my name's Jay. I'm the assistant manager here in the guitar store.
Hello, my name's Matt and I'm the manager.
And I'm Joe and I'm here for bass related things.
That's right, the gang's all here.
We're back together, guys.
First,
I was trying not to laugh in the little introduction because I was thinking about how happy I am that we're all sat around this big orange desk again.
Well, that's nice
for
for
a long time. For the first time in a long time. First time in 2014 was what we were just discussing.
First full
We're in the
podcast.
same room.
Yeah.
We were all here, but Matt was on an internet cast.
Personally, I preferred last week when you weren't here.
Yeah, really. Do you know, I tried to listen to last week and I got a good sort of 5 minutes in.
When it was boring.
Yeah, I skipped to the end.
Your own voice wasn't on there, you're just like, no,
pretty much.
Not bothered. We should have, how could we have fitted you into last week's episode? We could have, like...
You could have called me, I was only down the road at the hospital.
Joe Soundboard.
Yeah,
Billy
Sheehan. Yamaha BB bass.
they're so good.
Let's have a quick catch up. What's everyone been doing over the last week? Jay Cross.
I don't think anything's happened. I
woke up.
I've been. I went to my first football match in about 3 weeks.
Good result?
No,
Bad
we
result?
lost again. We always lose. It's rubbish. But you know, I've made my bed. So
The joys of being a non-league football sport.
yeah, no, it's rubbish. But there we go. You know, that was the highlight, and it was actually a low light. So thanks for bringing it up.
Well, you know,
Yeah.
I'd just like to remind you of bad times.
Yeah,
and
good. Well, I appreciate it.
heartbreak
Thanks.
and
Yeah.
standing out in a muddy field in the rain.
Yeah.
Matt Knight, what have you been up to?
Looking forward to my birthday.
Oh yeah, tomorrow night.
Well, tomorrow night's the celebrations, but actually Tuesday is my birthday.
Oh, I meant to say the only day I can do a podcast next week is Tuesday.
I'm not even here,
Oh,
so
it's a shame. So we have to.
so I'll be enjoying
miss
the
out.
joys of turning 27.
How you feeling about turning 27?
Good-ish.
Wait until you're 30.
Yeah, wait till you break that barrier.
Yeah, but then you're like, oh, at least I'm not 40. And
It's
then
good being
not how
young.
I'm
It's good being the
feeling.
youngest. I like it.
Are you?
Yeah, I'm the youngest.
Oh,
Of course
you're
I am.
You're an 88, are you? Or you're
I'm
just
87.
a late? Oh, you're just a later 87.
Me and Matt, me and Mark are the old ones.
Mark and I.
See, he's even got his grammar down.
It's because he's slightly older.
Joe Brandon, what have you been up to this week?
I've done lots this week actually. I
Went to the hospital.
I went to the hospital, but on guitar-related things, I put a new scratch plate on my P bass. I ordered a Seymour Duncan quarter pounder for my P bass. I'm getting a new nut cut and having that all set up. I redid my pedal board with a couple of new additions.
What did you do to the pedal board?
Added a raised area for the back pedals.
How did you do that?
I just got some ordinary wood. It was part of a.
You mean you bought the you
a
bought the
bookcase.
you bought the Diago pedal
No.
razors that we sell on the website?
No, I've got a Stag pedalboard case which we sell, and I just got a piece
I've
of
got
old
one of those.
bookcase to
Even
give
I've
it a
got one of
second tier because I had to move my delay pedal to the back because I've got another extra drive, and now it's a bit awkward getting to the delay pedal, so I had to raise it. I use it quite a lot. I don't like having pedals that I use a lot on the back, so I've had to make them easier accessible.
I feel your pain.
That was it. And I've wrestled with whether or not I want to get rid of my orange bass rig in place of a Hartkey.
Which orange have you got?
I've got the orange, the Terra Bass 500
Yeah.
head, and I've got a single 15-inch cabinet. And I need to make that a proper, like, really
You need a 210
loud.
underneath it.
Well, either I was thinking about getting another 15, so I either come up with the money for another 15 or a 210 to make it into like a full sort of.
I think you need the 210. There's not enough treble there.
Well, I don't like trebles, so
Yeah,
I mean, I play
you know,
flats
but like
and-
you're just not paying attention.
Also, I
That's
like the
problem.
idea of a 215. Not many people use that, and I like the
No,
idea of
yeah,
being
one of my
different
friends,
for no
one of my
reason
friends uses the
whatsoever.
215, and it
They
does sound really
can
good.
sound mighty.
Yeah,
like,
it does sound really
I
good.
think it's the 215s is the closest you'll get to playing like an 810 without having an 810
Yep.
sort of thing, just because they're so ballsy.
Just
So.
get one of those Lemmy cabs.
Oh yeah, the
415.
415, the custom Marshall builds, they're good, aren't they? See, I was thinking
Can
about.
we get
I
those?
used
Are
to
they
get
like a standard model?
No.
no,
Well,
special
not standard
order.
model, but like
Special
Special order.
request.
order.
Yeah,
That's
they do
awesome.
a head as well.
415.
Do you reckon it? Because
Yeah, that's gonna be wicked, isn't it?
the other day I was talking about when I was looking through the Orange Book when they did PA rigs, when they made PA things like the desks that we're sitting around when they did a 24 by 12, 24 by 12 and 18 by 15, so 18 15-inch speakers. I'm just wondering if you went to Orange with just crazy amount of money, do you think you could just go, just build me one?
Yeah, I reckon so, because the desk that we're all sitting around right now is.
You've got to fit.
I mean, there's a picture. There's a picture of this up on the Facebook page, but this is like
6.
I mean, you could easily. I mean, it's basically an 8x10, but much bigger, and it's just a desk, which Orange made for us. But yeah, I mean, you could easily fit.
You've got to fit 8 15s in that, surely.
No, 6 15s.
I don't think you fit 8 15s in there. I reckon you'd fit 10 12s in there.
Yeah, 10 12s. 10,
I mean,
12, that would be
big.
wicked.
And then power it with a micro.
But what would you?
Why wouldn't you
run
want a
through
10 12 though? Well, you probably, the 1,000 watt.
Oh yeah, the OB1K.
Yeah, the OB1.
Obi.
Yeah.
Do you know what I would do? I'd have 3 OB1Ks, each driving 4 12s each, and then a splitter guitar.
Yeah, well, no, because what you could do, because you know how, like, say one of the Marshall, the 1936 is stereo, so you can run 2 heads into the same cab, because you can run 1 into each speaker. Get them to wire up 3 sets of 215s and have 3 different bass heads running into it.
That's a great idea.
Did you guys ever see the? Perhaps we should share this at some point. The stage plan for the most recent Suno tour.
So, yeah.
The most recent. I think it's Suno. I think.
Oh really? I always thought it was just Sun.
Well, no,
I think it's just Sun.
The amp company is Sun. They basically the Doom band's Sun named their band after the amps that they use.
Yeah.
Which is quite
they
cool.
use Ampeg now.
Well, they
in fact,
originally used Sun.
more or less keep Ampeg in business, I think. By
Really?
Got so many of them on stage.
Because they had the singer plays a Moog. And he goes through, I can't remember offhand, but I think it was 2 SVT Classics with 2 8x10s. One of the guitarists goes through 4 Marshall 4x12s and an Ampeg 8x10. And the other guitarist just goes through 4 Ampeg 8x10s. And 4 SVT Classics, just like the single loudest band. Like the spec sheet.
They are supposed to be the loudest band.
The spec sheet is just completely incredible. They're just saying like, listen, don't put us on unless you've got no issue with noise, because part of our band is the fact that not only is it really loud in your ears, it's like you can feel. You can feel the noise, you can feel the room
Sparky
moving.
went and said that it was just like the most insane experience, because your whole body just vibrates.
They played a show. I was really bummed I couldn't go, but they played a show in Brighton, and they played a show in a venue that had that was set up for quadraphonic sound, and so they had PA speakers in all 4 corners of the room, and so not only was this like huge wall of sound coming from the front of the stage, everything was mic'd up, and so it's just there was nowhere you could move. It was just like, I mean, some people's idea of complete hell. I mean, it sounded great to me, but
I like it.
Yeah, that's mental.
Matt, you brought up Lemmy. We've got some Lemmy news. Just to mention, I'm changing up how we're doing the podcast a little bit. I figure we should do some news. We'll do some news every week. We never normally do news, and there's a lot of guitar news coming back from them. I've noticed that there's a lot of news. Now, whether that's just this time of year, or I think throughout the year, each week we should cover a bit of news.
There's always got to be something.
Let's do some Lemmy news. So, Seymour Duncan.
Can we have like a 70s TV American
news?
Is it like?
On Channel GAK?
Is it like gossip? Are we talking about which artists have left which guitar company and like cheating on them with another guitar company, like Guthrie Govan, he's cheating on Sir and moved to Charvel. Are we talking about? Is it that sort of like
guitar
fruity
celebrity news? No.
Oh, not fruity news.
It's about some new pickups.
Oh, okay.
Quite fruity.
That's not that fruity.
To be fair, in the actual. Well, the news that we are going to talk about is pretty insane, really.
There's some big stuff. So first up, as you talked about Lemmy, Seymour Duncan are doing a Lemmy signature pickup.
Yeah.
To replace Rickenbacker regular humbuckers. I'm quite excited about this.
I mean, there's not an awful lot of options out there. I mean, there's virtually no options out there for replacement.
Is there any options out there?
There are.
Seymour Duncan do
one.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's really cool actually because it's just like a chrome plate and it's got the Seymour Duncan S just in the middle of it. It looks really cool. It's a great replacement for
this Lemmy pickup looks really, really different to a normal Ricky pickup. It's got like eight.
It's 8 pole pieces rather than you normally have the 4 pole pieces on a Ricky, but they're big with like an oval rounded top, and they're quite proud of the pickup itself.
This almost looks more like a pickup off a Gretsch bass or something like that.
Yeah, it does.
I would
imagine
like
a TV Jones.
There's very little spec on them so far. There's just like one picture from NAMM. I reckon they're going to be super high output.
It's going to be ridiculous. They're in a gold. Chassis as well, which looks wicked.
What I like about them is because Rickenbacker have done a Lemmy signature bass in the past, but they make it in such limited quantities and it's quite expensive. This gives you an option actually to change your normal Ricky into something that's a bit more kind of Lemmified.
Which is absolutely brilliant.
Lemmified.
That's a great word.
What would you do about the hardware though? Because they're in a gold surround.
Well, that's the thing. I wonder if they're going to give options. But then,
I think
look,
they're custom
if you
shop,
want,
so I reckon you could just
you will get options. But even so, I mean, Lemmy has a very particular look. I mean, if you think of the signature model Rickenbacker that they released, it's like it's a carved body. I don't know what wood they use. It may well be mahogany. It's a dark wood anyway.
Yeah.
And it has it's got carvings into it. Some of his models he actually has leather body bags wrapped on the Rickenbackers. He used to do that originally, and they were embroidered. And sort of leather body bags, but the Rickenbacker signature he had is very much that sort of. I mean, that's very Lemmy to have something that's like it's carved and engraved. All the hardware's gold. It's kind of got that sort of really regal.
It's
like
all
old
like
rocker look
war
to it.
Memorabilia and stuff like that. It's got that kind of look to it. That's not the only pickup they released at NAMM and made a big shout about after NAMM. They're also doing a signature model pickup for Jason Becker, who. I mean, do you guys know much about Jason Becker?
I don't.
He was like one of the lead shredders in that whole kind of scene. He was like the youngest out of all of them. I think he was 17 or 18 when I think what was his record called? Perpetual Burn.
Yes.
87.
That's right. I believe that's the name of the new pickup as well. Yeah, the Perpetual Burn.
But he's been with Demasiev. But he got.
Who is he? I don't know.
He basically was a shredder from when shred was kind of at its peak.
Okay.
But kind of the best of the best. But he was the youngest one.
He was playing with like Dave Lee Roth and people like that.
But he got Lou Gehrig's disease.
Something like that. Like a muscle degenerative disease.
He can only move his eyes, but he composes like these amazing symphonies just using music software that's all eye controlled.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
That's insane.
And I was actually watching something about it because he played a lot of like Charvel and kind of the Ibanez RGs and stuff like that, the crazy neon ones. Because I think his signature pickups from Damasio before were like neon ones, and he still has like stuff made. And I was watching a thing with him, and he was saying that he's got all his old guitars and gave them to Charvel. They set them all up, and then his mates just sat there and played them for him. He's just like, oh yeah, I love the tone of this one. It's great, but he does everything computer controlled. So
he's completely paralysed. Completely paralysed. He can only move his eyes. And he's still like
he's still composing. He still puts records out and stuff like that.
That is like a legit inspiration. That is incredible.
He's
absolutely incredible.
And apparently he's been involved. He's been involved with Seymour Duncan since he was playing with Dave Lee Roth. So before the kind of disease took hold.
So when are we talking? Is this like mid 80s?
I guess so, yeah. I mean, if it's a Dave Lee Roth solo album, I guess, it's like mid to late 80s. So they've been working on this pickup since then, and he's been involved in like the prototyping recently and like saying like yes or no, this sounds really good, or we could change this. And it's ended up apparently somewhere between like a 59 and the JB.
Right, okay.
So it's going to be kind of like mid to hot, I guess.
Yeah, not super hot, but it'll have like tons of punch and quite a lot of clarity, I would have thought.
But good to see firstly great to see they're doing a signature model for him, but also just they're doing more signature stuff in general these days, I think. I think there's also a new Dimebucker coming out as well, or a Dimebag Darrell set that's on its way. So for people who are into that, I think it's like they're making the set by making a new partner pickup to the Dimebucker.
Okay, because I think a lot of companies, especially like Seymour Duncan, I think they've lost quite a lot to like bare knuckle. I think a lot of companies are losing a lot because bare knuckle, you know, it's all hand wound in the UK, and they're doing like loads of different types, and they're doing some signature ones, and I think they're going, oh, we really need to like play catch up on that. We can't just play it safe anymore. And
Definitely.
I think they're doing some more interesting stuff. And like the Lemmy one's a custom shop one. I think you probably see quite a few more custom shop pickups coming out as well.
Seymour Duncan seems to be pushing that quite a lot more now. That there is another level other than just their standard pickups. Is that, you know, you can get something custom shop made to your spec, and it's definitely a good
if
thing.
anyone out there is interested, then drop us a line, because I'll always be happy to inquire about these sort of things. So it's because I think the turnaround's fairly good. I think it's only like 6 to 8 weeks.
Yeah,
or something like that.
I mean, the bare knuckle stuff is, you know, I realise that we're sort of talking about two different things here, but the bare knuckle stuff is all hand wound to order. You know, we'll have like a few bits and pieces in stock at any one time, like the more popular bits and pieces. But if you want something sort of a little bit different, like, you know, because you can get the humbuckers and stuff in different finishes. So if you want like a nail bomb in like rustic, like, you
rust.
Rust or whatever, I don't know, rustic rust. They'll do it in, you know, we'll have it in like 10 days or something.
Yeah, and
so
the turnaround's remarkable.
Yeah, so if you can do something like that in such a short period of time, you know, that sort of custom shop, you know, it's not like ordering a custom shop Fender or something, you know, which is like, could be
I think with bare knuckle, I can't remember the exact number, but me and Luke, one of the purchasers who works for us, worked out there was something like 7,800 different bare knuckle pickup combinations.
Really?
Yeah.
What, because of all the different finishes?
Because of all the different finishes, and then like
4 conductor, 2 conductor,
and ceramic or alnico, because you can have different magnets on a lot of them.
Wow, that's
as well.
Amazing. 7,800 and only 3 P-base options.
You could get one custom wound to your spec.
I think the thing is, I mean, I'm not 100% on this, but I'd imagine with Seymour Duncan, I'd imagine a lot of things like the JBs, they produce so many that I'd imagine that there's a set amount of windings, it's all been prepared, and then everything's just automatically machine done. So they hit it and it will do.
Yeah.
Where I think all the custom shop stuff's done by hand.
Definitely.
I'd love for them to do the
J-Cross signature. It's just really loud and quite annoying.
Just really loud and only one.
Yeah.
The other one's there.
You can only buy one. Once you've bought one, they cross you off the list, so you can't have another one.
They J-Cross you off the list. The Johnny Marr, the pickups in the Johnny Marr Jag are... Because I think this is really cool, and I think this is one of the reasons probably why Seymour Duncan are, you know, companies like Seymour Duncan are a little bit sort of worried about, you know, other people encroaching on their market share, because you've got the Johnny Marr Jaguar, which is a high-end Fender, American-built Fender guitar, has got bare knuckle pickups in it. You know, that is super cool, super cool. A few months ago, Johnny Marr came into the shop, and he was playing in Brighton, and he had a little walk around, and I just had a chat to him about the guitar, and I just said, you know, we're all really big fans of it, and he's just a like super nice dude who's just a guitar nerd, and he was just saying that the guys at Bare Knuckle were super nice and super like into him. They're super. Really into him, like nerding out over it and getting exactly the sound, and you know, I just think that those sort of people are just great, and I think that people like Seymour Duncan. Oh, and I know we've touched on this in the past about how, you know, what with Twitter and Facebook and everything, you know, social media has brought companies directly in front of the people who are using their gear, and I think that, you know, you can't just sort of rest back on your laurels and go, okay, look, these are the things that we make, buy them. You know, it's companies like Seymour Duncan have gone, okay, actually, we really need to do what people want us to do, and I think that's brilliant. I think that's absolutely brilliant.
The Seymour Duncan booth at NAMM was just a bar.
A bar?
Yep, in the middle of the floor. They had just had like glass cabinets around, so it's like a square space with glass cabinets around it with the Seymour Duncan stuff in it. Obviously, you can't demo anything because they're pickups. And then just a bar with like, I think it had like either bottled beers or it had like some pool pumps or whatever. And there's just people sitting down like, all right.
Did you see TV Jones pickups by any chance? Because I heard once that apparently the TV Jones stand was just the fella. just behind a desk with some of his pickups.
Yeah, that's what it was. He had some guitars with him this time, I think. But it was it's really small.
Do you think?
Yeah, I can't remember.
No, but like, why would you not have a guitar with you?
Well,
I just think I heard there it was just once him, just some pickups. He went, yeah, just make these pickups. Here you go.
The further you get down the hall, like letters, when you get down to like halls D and E, there's very little actual like. There's very few like displays. It will literally just be like a guy behind a desk with a guitar and maybe an amp hooked up, and it's like, all right, how's it going? Do you want to talk to me about this? Like, yeah, okay, fine. But yeah, it's not like Hall A where Fender have got, I don't know, whoever, Jim Root doing a showcase. It's very contrasting ends of the scale. One more bit of Seymour Duncan news: the Vapor Trail delay. Matt, have you heard about this yet?
No, it's one that slipped through the net for me.
All analog. Hang on, let me give it some spec.
Wait, a actual pedal?
Yes.
By Seymour Duncan.
Seymour Duncan pedal. They've done pedals before.
Well, they did the pickup booster, which was awesome. That was so good. I was gutted when they stopped it.
Wow, is that what it looks like?
Yeah, Vapor Trail delay. 60 milliseconds of complete analog delay with 2 mini pots for modulation, a transparent delay knob with embedded rate LED, and a cool wet insert that lets you use an expression pedal to control the volume of repeats, or use with a Y cable to in the loop with any other effect, and also have it only affect the repeats.
When you say when I should point out that when Mark says transparent delay knob, he actually means that one of the knobs is see-through.
Yeah, that was quite interesting. I've always been quite a fan of their pedals before, and that the kind of cool wet insert sounds quite useful.
A lot of companies doing that now. So basically, it's a stereo input jack. That when you plug, you get a TRS to 2 monos.
Yeah.
And then the ring will send out the send, and the other one will do the return. So you can then insert just a pedal into that without it affecting the rest of your. So
you can have just to clarify for the layman, not that I'm including myself, just so that we can clarify.
Asking for a friend.
I'm asking for a friend. If you have the delay going, that you could, for example, plug in like a tremolo pedal.
Yeah.
And the signal will carry on going through, but the affected signal will go like whoa,
through the tremolo. So imagine the signal comes in, and it goes into the delay through another little pedal, and then sends it out. But the delay will only go through the tremolo, so the tremolo won't be through the rest of the signal. Yeah. So it's quite good. So for example,
could you put it through another delay pedal?
Yeah. Whoa. One of the coolest things that I've seen done is someone had a timeline. And because you've got stereo input, stereo output, you can do the same thing. Put it through a micropog, and every repeat either shifts it up or down an octave.
Right.
So it kind of randomises the octaves that it does, which is quite cool.
That is quite cool, yeah.
Why does it randomise?
I don't know. I've seen it, and it's kind of gone like... It just sort of goes in between.
Why that impression again?
It's like, it sounds like the... have you seen the Moog Theremin?
Yes, yeah. Sweet.
It's like a theremin, but it's all digital, so you can kind of set it into scales and stuff like that. That's amazing.
So you move inside the space, but it's actually you're moving it like a step filter.
Yeah,
that sounds alright.
And it looks like a little space pod, and you can it looks amazing.
Gentlemen, BC Rich have announced some new guitars, the Villain series.
That's
kind
good,
of
man.
Offset.
Really?
Yeah, like. So they look almost like Stratty, but then the top horn is like longer.
How many strings has that got?
This one has 8.
Eight. So they're doing the Villain 1, which is the 6 string.
Just a 1 string.
It's just
is that the gent stick?
Yeah,
the gent stick.
It's just the gent guitar, just a low B bass. Like
a B? Come on, Mark.
Bass 6.
It's 2014. The gent, we're at least down to a G. We're at least down to a G.
Alright, fine. So the Villain, confusingly, the Villain 1...
Korn were playing lower than B back in like 1998.
I don't know about that. Does it sound like the Ramones? I don't know about it. So the Villain 1, confusingly, is the 6 string. Then the Villain Escape 7 and the Escape 8 are the 7 and 8 strings.
Okay. Escape.
Indeed.
Okay. And they're doing the Veil as well, which I think are the flame top ones. Yeah,
so Veil, mahogany body, set neck, Floyd Rose on there. They've got Duncan design blackouts in, so the Chinese built Duncan design pickups. whereas the Villain 1s have got BC Rich's own BSDM pickups. I seem to remember BC Rich's own pickups actually being really good for the money. For a while they were using those Rockfield pickups as well. Both sounded pretty nice.
They seem to be taking a leaf from Schecter's book.
Yeah, they've kind of gone. So there's also Villain Deluxes, which are Floyd Rose and EMG 60s in there. All these companies, I think, are stepping up their game. Like, we're talking about companies like Seymour Duncan and things like that, but in terms of the like metal guitars, this is just a kind of indicative of what's going on across the board. Like Schecter have got loads of new models this year, all with like ridiculously high spec for the money. Ibanez have obviously done
the Ibanez catalogue is awesome.
I'm really into Ibanez at the moment. I mean, it's so far removed from anything I would have really been interested in. Maybe like even like a year ago.
Yeah.
I just think that the stuff that Ibanez are doing is really exciting right now.
Yeah.
And I'm really looking forward to seeing what they're doing. And I think BC Rich have I think. Spent, you talk about companies sort of resting on their laurels. I think BC Rich have spent a little bit too much time focusing on the sort of more avant-garde shapes.
Mockingbird, Warlock.
But it's like they're selling themselves on the shape as opposed to the actual guitar. And I think doing something like that, if you'd shown me just that and I've not seen the headstock, I would have thought, oh, okay, well that's a Schecter or an Ibanez or something. It looks a little bit more
conventional.
Yeah, a little bit more conventional, which I realise isn't. A lot of the time people do like the BC Rich stuff because it is slightly more avant-garde.
It looks very professional. Keeping a simple Strat shape, it removes the sort of showmanship element that you get with those. So it's kind of a metal guitar that you can take seriously. I think serious metal guitarists generally do play things that are going to help them play better. And I don't think having a big X that's going off at an angle affecting you getting your arm round it is ever going to help you playing. But these look absolutely brilliant. They look really professional with some lovely quilt top finishes on there.
Quilt and flamed on there. I just think it's such a good move for BC Rich because, like you say, people come in, they're like, oh, I want to get my first guitar. I really like the pointy ones. I'll get a Mockingbird or like a Warlock or a Bitch or all the crazy ones that they've done, and you just think, you're going to. This is fine for you now. But perhaps if you got something like a little bit more conventional, this will carry on when you're not so much into that shape.
But it's not so much that as well. I mean, I think one of the big things for me is if it's your first guitar, you're going to be working to your first guitar budget. Which is probably. Obviously, different people have different things, but you're probably saying like I don't know, 300 quid or something.
Yeah, a couple of hundred quid.
And so, if you're looking at one of the Mockingbirds, a lot of the money goes into the shape of the guitar because it's such a big shape, and it's such a it's a little bit and so I think that the money is being spent sort of elsewhere. That's not to say that these guitars don't have their place. That's absolutely not what I'm saying. But I think it's good that BC Rich are doing something for some people who are into the BC Rich guitars and the BC Rich artists and that sound. But it's a little bit more conventional, as we say.
Such a historic brand as well.
Yeah,
like, so they've got something that for example, Schecter and ESP perhaps don't quite have because they've been making guitars since the mid '70s.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's that's the new BC Rich Villain series.
Sweet,
chaps. Some Gibson news. Gibson Government Series 2.
This is really exciting.
What was the Government Series?
Right, so
did you work here when this all kicked off?
Maybe.
Do you remember how like?
Do you remember how Gibson kicked off directly at you,
really?
Joe?
Yeah.
I guess it was what? It was
I think
like
they hit me
2.5.
really hard.
Maybe you weren't here, but I guess it was like 2.5, 3 years ago.
About 2 years ago, I think.
There was if you walked into the Gibson room, you would have walked in and seen that there weren't any Gibsons hanging on the wall.
I think this must have been just before I started.
Because basically there was. I don't know the ins and outs of it, and I don't know if the ins and outs of it have ever been completely published. But
Gibson essentially had some ebony and rosewood.
Oh, right. Well, I know this story.
Yeah. Well, so Gibson and Gibson had some ebony and rosewood that they. It was claimed by I think the FBI that they couldn't account for the whereabouts of them.
Yeah.
And that's since been overturned, I believe.
It's to do with the fact that a lot of this stuff is ebony, especially. but rosewood as well. It's all protected in so you can't because there's so few like Brazilian rosewood trees in Brazil, obviously. You can't just chop down a tree of rosewood in Brazil and then
take it. Yeah,
you can't just take it's all protected, and it's all protected under international law.
Yep.
And so when you're transporting woods from country to country, you have to be able to prove where this wood has come from, and where it's been treated and where it's been processed and stuff like that. And I think basically somewhere along the line, someone had dropped the ball at Gibson. They hadn't done anything illegal. They just hadn't crossed the T's or dotted the I's, or there was some.
I'm not even sure that was the case. I think it was that was what they were accused of, and it didn't actually happen. Like, I think everything was fine in the end, because they're obviously using rosewood and stuff again now.
Yeah.
And these guitars. Let's backtrack a little. So anyway, while this was going on, Gibson produced the Government series, which was made with the new materials that they were using.
Baked maple.
Yeah. And had like a picture of like
everything was baked maple when I started.
Yeah.
Well, it wasn't. It was baked maple, granadillo. It was.
Well, they still use Richlight on customs then.
So anyway, this had like. I can't remember the exact logo. It had like the FBI's logo or something on the guitar, like a big like 2 fingers, like we're gonna keep making guitars, you whatever, So now, in kind of a celebration of the fact that Gibson can now again use rosewood on their guitars, we've got the Government Series 2, which are Les Paul SG. I think there's a Flying V and Explorer as well.
It's not just a rosewood board. It's the rosewood seized by the FBI.
By the FBI, yeah.
Oh, that's amazing.
Used on guitars.
And to complement that, they've got the logo this time round is an American like bald eagle holding a guitar neck in its claws.
So good.
It's amazing. And what's the finish on them? Isn't there some sort of dig in the finish as well?
It's called. It's like I keep thinking gunmetal grey, but it's not gunmetal grey. It's like a similar government something.
Yeah, isn't it like government grey or something like that? Like they're really like twisting the knife.
Yeah, okay.
On these, like we can make these guitars.
This is the thing that I think is quite cool. Gibson are quite good at. I don't know if laughing at themselves is quite the right word, or being relatively sort of referential. These in jokes, because when the flood happened in Nashville, like sort of 4 or 5 years ago, we've spoken about this in the past.
We have.
When the flood happened, they lost, like Gibson lost so much stuff. So the big river that runs near the factory in Nashville just burst its banks, and they lost so many materials, not just raw materials of the woods and stuff, but they also lost the factory space, and they lost tools, machinery and tools and everything. And within that, they it got into the paint room.
Yeah, the only costs for the Thunderbird bases.
Yes, yeah, absolutely.
That's why we talked about it before as well.
Yeah. But in regards to this particular scenario, it got into like the paint room or whatever, and it knocked all of the paint onto the floor. And when the water eventually sort of subsided. There was just this like swirly green pattern on the floor, and they made I think it was called the Flood series.
Les Paul Studio Flood, which was they basically recreated those conditions. So they poured a load of paint into the finishing drum or whatever. I'm not sure exactly how they've done it, and then just dipped the guitars in it, and
so
then it came out like looking like
swirly, floody. Like, I think they did a green one and a blue one.
Green one, blue one. There was a red one as well.
Okay,
yeah. They were cool looking. There's like my favourite looking Les Paul Studio they've done for years.
I just think that it's kind of cool. Like Gibson are just able to be like, look at this stupid stuff that happened. Oh well, like here's a cool guitar. Do you want to buy it? Cool, sweet. See you later. I just think that's kind of cool.
One more bit of news. Line 6 Amplify has arrived. In store.
Well, the 75 has arrived.
Yeah, the 75. Don't ruin it.
But and Amplify.
And Amplify has arrived. So we finally. I mean, I'd heard one in the States. How do you guys feel about the Amplify?
I like it. I like it a lot.
Yeah,
it's really cool because I thought that where the top part, where I'd seen, I think Paul Hindmarsh was demoing it at NAMM, I thought there was like an iPod connector.
Right.
Even though I knew it was Bluetooth, I thought there was still something like for charger. But it's not. It's just like you can just. Well, you don't even have to put your iPad or anything in there. You just
Bluetooth.
Do you want to explain a little bit about what the Amplify is.
Did you guys not explain it last week?
Yeah, we sort of did some last week.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, having hands on with it now, I think it is quite impressive, isn't it?
Explain again, because I didn't listen.
Well, okay, thanks very much. Well, so do you know a basic concept behind
it? I've heard the basic concept is that it does Bluetooth stuff, and you can play stuff along with backing tracks, and it will create the sound.
You're totally making this up. Yeah, we're clearly.
So basically, it's taking it finds songs on your iPad, iPhone, iOS device, and will tone match. So you say like Jay earlier was playing Enema of the State by Blink-182. When that album or when a song loaded up, it gave him some choices as to tones that he might want to use to play along with this song. And it's pulling those from Line 6's cloud, and you can edit those tones and save them. So say Jay had found a tone on there that was a bit like Tom DeLonge's and went, actually, we need to edit this and we need to do this, this and this. That tone will then be reset, like saved under a different name, back up there, and then go back into that voting process as like which tones you should use for this song. So all of the sounds are crowdsourced, essentially. So it's users generating.
They had created something like 7,000.
Well, yeah, to get the whole process started,
to get the ball rolling. Yeah. The only drawback with it is there's not a huge. I mean, granted, I don't listen to the sort of music that the average guitarist, I guess, would listen to. Like I struggled to find. I went through my iPod, I went through my iPhone, and I struggled to find like a tone that matched. Like Enema of the State, there was one that was close enough. The Blue album by Weezer, someone had done, and that sounded pretty good.
But don't forget, this is like.
But yeah, I mean,
so
I realise
in people's hands so far.
I mean,
but you know, I think give it a couple of months, and there will be a lot of nerds who have gone, "This is wicked, let's go." And I don't mean that in a derogatory term whatsoever. I think that's really cool, and I think that's an exciting thing to be a part of. That's the only thing that I think is a slight drawback right now, is the fact that it doesn't quite have all of the sounds in there that you would quite want it to. But I think it is absolutely hours of enjoyment for people who enjoy sort of cataloguing these things. And you know, I think that's great. That is really cool.
Have we got them out on display in the
Yeah, there's one just around the corner.
Go on, around there.
I've never looked.
All right. Okay. Well,
but yeah, I mean, I think it depends what you've probably got on there now, because I know that when we plugged it in yesterday and like we went through some Nirvana, we went through some Nirvana stuff, and loads of the different tones came up straight away. But
I mean, in fairness, I was looking for I was trying to play Rise Above by Black Flag, but you know, I kind of would have expected that would have been on there.
No, it's too unique for you.
The speaker goes the whole way around.
The speaker?
Yeah.
The grill. The grill. Actually, I must say, I think they look quite modern. They look like you could just have them knocking around without worrying about just having an amp in your living room.
Yeah,
they look real slick.
It looks like a hi-fi.
The sound in just for the music player is brilliant.
Yeah.
My only drawback is if you do have to have a tablet plugged in for it to kind of really use tones.
Bluetooth.
Well,
Bluetooth,
Bluetooth, kind of, because the tone, you can access a wide variety of tones just from the front panel, but it's not as easy as doing it on your phone. And the interface is amazing.
Is brilliant. The interface is excellent. Like there's, I think, more or less second to none. When I went to use the tuner, because I was sitting there trying to play it, and because Matty had spent a little bit more time with it than I had, and I sat down to play it, and I went, "Oh, is there a tuner? This telly's got out of tune." Of course it was a telly. This telly's got out of tune. Is there a tuner on it? And Matt said, "Oh yeah, it's built into the app." And so I went onto the app and selected the tuner, and as I played the E string, no noise came out of the speaker, but the tuner was working. So it's like it's a silent. Because I had assumed it would just be like my ClearTune app on my iPhone, which just works off the mic, which uses the microphone, but it doesn't. It's all Bluetooth, and that I thought was better. But yeah, the interface is completely excellent. Like it
and
works
I think
really
the catalogue
well.
of tones will just get better.
Oh yeah, I mean it will skyrocket.
That's the thing. I mean, it can only get better from now on. Now that they're in the hands of people.
Things can only get better. Just like that.
Just like that.
But one thing I thought was because it's Bluetooth and it doesn't have like a lightning bolt or a 30-pin adapter, it's not necessarily going to go out of date in a sense, because it will just Bluetooth.
Yeah.
You know, there's no they brought out a new phone and it's got a one pin connector on it.
I wonder whether there'll eventually be like OS X support and like PC. There'll be a PC editor that you can maybe
imagine
Bluetooth
with Bluetooth
together.
because it's so universal. I reckon there's probably ways that someone will hack it somehow.
Yeah, and you know, it will eventually support Android and do all this stuff as well. But at the moment, I think it's just iOS.
I think it is at the moment.
Gents, should we do some staff picks?
Yeah.
Yes.
Jay Cross, what have you been playing this week? As if we had to ask.
Okay. I got a little bit of grief over this, but I wasn't sure about going for this because I thought it was just a little bit sort of.
It is
a bit of a cop out.
In fairness, I did sanction this. I said you were allowed to talk about it.
I did ask if it was alright. I did ask
know.
if it was alright. Okay, so it's no secret that I like. I don't know, Joe. I'm not sure if you're a regular listener. I really like Telecasters, and I really like the Baja Telecaster. My big drawback to the Baja Telecaster, which is, as I say on a daily basis, the single best instrument you can buy for less than £1,000. Unequivocally, the best instrument you can buy for under £1,000.
The best instrument?
What
if I want a harp?
You probably can't buy a harp for less than £1,000. Like, not a harp.
I reckon you could. What if I want an accordion?
The Baja Tele will be better. The Baja Tele will be better.
I agree.
Anyway, the big drawback with it is it doesn't come in white. And Fender, who I'm sure have been listening to this podcast, have released an FSR Baja Telecaster.
They might as well have called it the J Cross.
I mean, they may as well have done. It's so good.
Are you actually going to buy one?
I think I'm probably going to buy one, yeah.
Don't you have a white Telecaster?
I've got an American Special in white, yeah.
Right, okay.
And you have said multiple times on this podcast you'd rather have a white Baja Tele than a white American Special.
I've said a number of times that I've never been quite sure whether I made the right decision going for the American Special. And now but I always justified it to myself, being like, well, you know, I really like white guitars. You know, I've got a white Mustang, I've got a white P-bass.
They don't do the Baja Tele in white.
They don't do Baja Tele in white. No, they do Baja Tele in white. In fact, the reason I found out about it is someone I didn't even know. Someone who listens to the podcast tweeted me saying, "Have you seen this? Have you bought it yet?" I hadn't. I was at home. It was my day off. I was so excited. I came to the shop and just asked Matt, and he was like, "Oh yeah, I've known for like a couple of weeks." Why didn't you tell me? Why did you hold this from me?
Because it's a kind of thing that you don't need to know.
Because we value the microphones and headphones that we use for the podcast and did not want you to be screaming.
It's so good. The Baja Tele is so good.
What's
it's the
good
best
about
guitar. What do you mean what's good about it?
I meant that genuinely.
It's a 50s spec Tele, so brass saddles, proper ringy Telecaster sound.
So big, thick, deep C neck.
Chunky neck. Like it's
massive.
I think it's the second largest neck that Fender produce, other than a Nocaster neck.
Okay.
Soft V.
It's a big chunky neck, which will put some people off. Not me. I like it a lot.
Oh, Clubby Cross. It's not going to
Clubby Cross.
So is it a one-piece maple neck?
Yeah, it is. I think. I don't know.
I think so. Yeah.
I think so. Yeah. And then the pickups are you've got a twisted Tele in the neck. I mean, okay. And in the bridge you've got a broadcaster. So it's like a proper. You know, I mean, we've spoken about the history of Telecasters a bunch. The broadcaster was the original name of the Telecaster back in '51. So it's super jangly. It's got the S1 switching, 4-way selector switch, S1 switching. But just leave the bridge pickup on. It sounds amazing.
They're designed by custom.
The entire classic player ranges. So the classic player Telecaster, and there's also a bunch of Strats. There's the 50s and 60s. Is there a 70s classic player Strat? I'm not sure there's a 70s classic player.
It was for a while.
No, there's classic series, but not classic.
Yeah. So there's the classic player range is stuff that is designed by the US Custom Shop but built in Mexico.
Yeah.
And so basically, from what I understand it, the guys at Fender have said, okay, well look, we want to build a guitar in Mexico. This is kind of the price range we're looking at. We want it to be sort of around sort of, £600-700. So whatever that is in US dollars. And they've gone to the guys in the custom shop and said, what is the best guitar we can make for that money? And that's why I think for the money, it's absolutely unbeatable, because it's custom shop designed.
Now available in white.
In
Do we know how many of them there are?
I don't know how many of them there are. I know that we've got 8, and I sold one yesterday.
Of course you did.
And so they're great. It's the best guitar you can buy for less than £1,000.
So basically, for everyone who's been listening to the podcast and heard you rattle on about Bartellis the whole time and has thought about picking one up, now is a good time because it will be limited edition.
Because I'll probably buy all of them. It's time for me to kind of put my money where my mouth is.
Yeah.
And I
think you should own one by next week.
I don't think I can afford to own one by next week.
Well, you can. Are you going to sell your American Special?
Maybe. If anyone wants to buy an American Special Telecaster, please get in touch with me.
And buy one through the shop. You cannot hawk your wares on the podcast, Jay. Matt Knight, Matt Knight, what have you been playing this week?
You hawks.
I am really into this guitar. It is an Ibanez. Believe it or not.
I was going to say, when you recommended this, I was like, I don't know what
I am going to buy my first Ibanez, I think. The RC 365.
It's great. I really like this guitar.
Do you know what? Sometimes, alright, I'll admit, I don't sit round with all the Ibanez and ESP and Schecter. I might manage the store, and sometimes, these things get forgotten about. And one day, one of the lads came up to me and said, "You should check this out." And and I was like,
"So what's it like? It's probably a Floyd Rose, couple of
basically, I'm going
high output humbuckers."
Imagine if Ibanez went right. We should do like some sort of offset, so it looks a little bit like a Jaguar.
Right.
It's hollow body.
Yeah.
Well, semi-hollow.
Semi-hollow. Yeah. Like mahogany body with a maple top
and an F-hole.
Okay.
It's got an F-hole.
F-hole, semi-hollow. We've established that,
yeah.
Joe. Pup. Rosewood board, humbucker in the bridge, and a Tele neck pickup.
Nice.
And it sounds awesome.
It really. How much is it?
They're $365.
Unbelievable.
Do you know
part of the road courses?
Yeah, part of the road. Do you know what? I think there's so many guitars out there that sometimes you just forget, especially when you get blinded by guitars that are $6 or we had a Les Paul turn up yesterday that was it's £9,799. Everyone instantly crowds around. Oh my God, it's £10,000.
Yeah.
And then the little Ibanez's there that are 300 odd quid, they sort of get left behind. And actually, you pick them up and you're like, the neck on it feels so nice to play. It's really comfortable. It's not too lacquered, so it doesn't get sticky, anything like that. The humbuck is really punchy. It's one of those guitars you'd be like, yeah, I'll buy one of those and I'd mod it and I'd stick loads of this, that. You don't need to. You can just plug it in and it sounds amazing.
Do you know what I think they're actually going for? And you guys might not remember these, but do you remember the Jackson Surfcaster?
Yeah.
That's what that guitar is kind of aping, isn't it, almost?
Yeah.
It's that hollow body but offset. And I think, I'm not aware of the availability of Surfcasters at the moment. There might be like a custom shop Jackson thing. You might be able to get one.
I bet you if you went to Jackson, they'd build you one.
I'm sure when I was at NAMM, somewhere on that booth, either it might have been Jackson or Charvel, I can't remember, I saw a Surfcaster.
Really? Wow.
They were what I'm going to get it the wrong way around probably, but weren't they were Charvel, and then Charvel got bought by Jackson, and then they became Jackson Surfcasters, which are slightly more common, and the Charvel ones are rarer.
The only thing I remember about them is when I first started here, they were still producing the Surfcaster in America, and then suddenly they had some Chinese ones that were actually affordable, and everyone snapped them up, and then Jackson was like, oh yeah, we're not doing these anymore. And like I said, you might still be able to get one in one form or another, but that is actually a really good alternative, that Ibanez.
Yeah, it's amazing.
What finishes they come in?
They come in black or like a
sort of honeyburst.
It's like a honeyburst, but they're bolt-on neck. But they're double bound. They've kind of got a little bit of everything going for them, like a cool sort of like bound telly, a little bit of offset, a little bit of hollow body, rosewood board, a humbucker, a telly neck pickup.
What's the model number again? RC365.
Yeah, 365H. Part of the road course series. Go and try one because you will be pleasantly surprised. I think any of that range, they do like is it the FR360 that I meant? I think might have been one of my staff picks.
Looks like a kind
months
of
ago.
almost like a Matt Bellamy style guitar.
Yeah, it's like the 2 humbucker one, which is really cool.
It's going to get really boring for everyone listening. For us, I think this year we're going to. our staff pick this year. Every week, I think will be a different Ibanez guitar.
There's a lot
because
coming out.
there's so much good stuff coming out.
We saw at NAMM they do a thing called spot production where they kind of put models out for like almost like for tender, and they go, look, we could make this if enough dealers are interested. And we saw some of that stuff, and some of it definitely will get made.
Yeah.
And some of it will be exclusive to GAK, I think.
Cool.
Some of those guitars are unbelievable. It's like just knocking it straight out of the park. Just such good guitars, and kind of weirder stuff as well.
One of the things that that's yet to get to us in the Ibanez catalogue for basses this year is Ibanez have done their first single cutaway bass.
Yes, from the bass collection range or something.
It's part of the BTB. It's a 6-string only, and it's a BTB bass but a single cutaway. Now that means something different for bass than it does for guitar.
So it doesn't make it like a Les Paul.
No, well.
In so much as it's only got one cutaway.
Yeah, but a single cutaway for bass means that your top horn is part of the body, but that top horn extends up the neck.
Yes,
almost halfway up the neck.
About halfway up the neck. They're always through. They're always through neck.
Yeah.
So it's to improve the sustain of the wood contact from the body.
Oh my goodness!
Yeah, we've just shown Jay a picture of it. Lots and lots of boutique bass brands do. Do single cutaways. It's a very common thing, but it's virtually unseen in sort of like the mass-produced market.
Yeah.
It tends to be something for real kind of real proper bass player.
There was so much new Ibanez stuff at NAMM. I think this is going to be a really good year. We talked about this already last week, saying that there's a lot coming out. Joe, what have you been playing this week in lieu of that single cut Ibanez not being here yet?
Yes, well, exactly. I'm waiting for that to come for it to be my stuff pick. So my stuff pick isn't actually something new. In fact, it's something old, something so old that it's discontinued and the company doesn't exist anymore. But
well, really, finger on the button. Yeah. Finger on the old pulse.
Wait. Have you heard of this thing called a guitar? They put a pickup in it these days.
Yeah.
What have we got for us then, old man?
Is it a Selma treble and bass? Is that
well, we managed to basically Gensbens, who were an absolutely brilliant bass and guitar amplification manufacturer. Who were purchased by Fender a couple of years ago, and Fender have decided to disband Gensbens this year. And when it was announced that was going to happen, we frantically bought up as much Gensbens bass amplification as we could, because of course they were selling it at extremely low prices, and in turn so are we. So we've got the last kind of few bits of it now, and I just want to bring this one to people's attention. For anyone looking for a bass head, the bass head I've chosen is the one the one that we've got left is the Gensbens Streamliner, the STM 600, which is their 600 watt streamliner head. Now the head itself is tiny. You could probably fit it in the front pocket of your gig bag.
I like that. That's a good feature.
I think it is a good feature for bass players. You know, for the gigging bass player to be able to bring something along to a show that's 600 watts. In your gig bag is pretty awesome, and then you know if you were going to be doing that, you'd be thinking, well, is it like Mark bass? Do I have to sacrifice tubes and things like that? No, you don't, because they've got 3 12AX7s in the preamp.
What?
That's amazing.
3 12AX7s in the preamp.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, in this tiny little chassis. In chassis.
Chassis.
In fact,
Chassis.
When you turn it on,
isn't that the plural? Chassis.
Chassis. I'm going to stick with chassis. So on the top of the chassis, there is a small perspex kind of window with the symbol for Gensbens on it, and you can see the tubes inside, and when they light up when you power up. But I've always loved Gensbens. I love the way they lay out their amplification. They use 4-band EQs, so you get 2 mid controls, which I think is really useful. They also have, rather than just having kind of an input and an output, they also have a separate gain control on there, so you can really drive the heck out of the 312AX7.
So input volume, then gain control, and then a master volume as well.
That's right. Yeah,
okay,
exactly.
cool.
So, which is great, which is brilliant. So this thing.
I wonder if one of those
drives
12AX7s is taken up, is like a separate drive circuit.
Yes, it is. Yeah, that's right. One of the 12AX7s is a
valve overdrive.
That's right. Yeah, exactly. So it runs at like 600 watts at 4 ohms, 375 watts at 8 ohms. It's ridiculously loud for that sort of rating, and to kind of be that small. They also include like a couple of really useful sort of push button functions on the head. They give you either like a bass boost, a treble boost, or a mid scoop, which kind of cover, I suppose, your three major bass sounds, like a sort of Jack Brucey bassy sound, a kind of Ramonesy sort of high trebly sound, or sort of your very sessionary mid scoop.
The honk.
Yeah, exactly. So you can more or less leave. You can leave everything flat if you like, and just use those kind of presets, and it sounds great, and it will do loads of different styles. All of that for £399.
Yeah, that's
really good.
Ridiculous.
What's the old RRP on them?
They were £694.80.
That's crazy.
And they really were as well, because Gens Benz, when it was in its heyday, was a really sort of sought after, high end professional.
Yeah. Well, I remember when they dropped all the prices. When we got like the Black Pearls and stuff.
Yeah. That was a guitar amp.
Yeah, the Black Pearl guitar amp. Was it the Black Pearl that they did? They did a 310.
Yes, that's right.
310 guitar combo.
That amp was like.
They were $17.99.
Yeah, like pushing £2,000, and we were selling them for like £600 or something.
I think it was.
And
5, 6.
so the stuff was crazy money. Like that Black Pearl was great.
I thought it was. I really like the look and the sound of the Black Pearl series. So you can't get them anymore, guys. But you should definitely check them out online. They looked absolutely brilliant. I think sounded incredible too.
Well, I'm a big fan of the. I really like the Fender DeVille series, the 410s. But it's just so heavy.
Yeah,
they're so heavy.
Pop out one of the speakers.
It was still super heavy. The transformer. I think it was 100 watts. So, it was crazy heavy. But like, they just sounded so good. Like that. I really like that. I guess we're sort of coming at it from a slightly different perspective. Like, I'm a big fan of the sort of trebly side of things, and obviously you're the low end or whatever.
Loves the bass.
But those 310s I just thought sounded just so good. Drove it really. Just the whole Gens Benz range was really cool. It's a shame that they're not doing them anymore.
It is a great. It's a great shame to have lost them as a company, because they did some great stuff. But this is kind of your last chance to be able to get hold of some of their gear new and with warranties and stuff. And I really think the Streamline is wicked. We do have some other stuff. We've still got like a Shuttle 12.2, which is an absolutely ludicrous 1200 watt valve preamp head, which is incredible. And we've got some 410s, some 15s, even some little 12-inch Gens Benz Focus cabinets as well. So there's still a load of their stuff. It's all really good, and it's just dirt cheap at the moment. So yeah, my staff pick is just the very awesome late Gens Benz Streamliner STM 600.
I'm going to change mine last minute, because I was going to do a small bass head, but as you've already done one, I noticed earlier when I was looking through...
sorry, you were.
That's fine. When I was looking through our second-hand stock earlier, and I noticed that we've got an Engel Screamer 50 head for what, $399?
Yeah. Oh, I know. I don't know why that's still here.
I know.
I've thought about buying that.
I keep seeing it come up on like the second-hand reports, because it's been here for a couple of weeks, and I just think $399 for what is essentially like mostly like hand-built 50-watt all-valve head that sounds
amazing, and it's got an incredible drive channel and a really tight clean sound.
Yeah. How is that still here?
If I was a guitarist, I would play Engel.
Yeah,
good sounding
I don't
amps.
know. It's just one of those things.
They look cool as well.
But
someone should buy
it.
$399.
How much are they new?
Like,
they're over $1,000. I'm sure they are.
I think,
50.
they're like around.
They can't be.
They're
that
around
much.
$1,000. I think they're like 900, something like that. Matt, give us some deets. But
sure.
I just can't believe that it's still here. I just think $399 for any 50 watt.
I think they were $799. I think they were $799. The Screamer.
Is that the bet you're going for?
What are we saying, Matt?
$829.
$829. There we go.
That's £30 off. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jay, 30 quid.
But $399 for any.
Yeah.
In fact, we don't even have a new one in stock. So if you really wanted a new one,
you've got to buy the second hand.
Buy the second hand one for half price.
Gents, we've had loads and loads of feedback. I asked for quite a lot of questions this week, so let's crack on with them. Now, this first one came in via email from Jack. Matt, you sort of already answered this via email, and that's not the point of what we're doing.
It was. I didn't actually realise it was a podcast one when it came through. I didn't see where it what it had been directed to, because it comes to all of us. But actually, it made me think and mention quite a good point to him, is that a lot of people...
Let me read his question first, so other people know what he asked.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Right, Jack says, "Hi guys, I'm a huge fan of Telecasters. One of my favourite bands is Pink Floyd. I've been searching around on the internet to try and find the Telecaster that Syd Barrett, original lead singer of Pink Floyd, played. It's a Fender Tele with a black body with white binding and a maple neck. It will probably cost a lot of money to buy the same model that Syd used, and I'm sure there are custom shop teles which look like his guitar, but I don't have that kind of money. So my question is, are there any Telecasters out there that are similar to the one that Syd used? By the way, I've seen the Squire Classic Vibe Tele, which has a similar body, but I'm not a fan of the rosewood fretboard and black headstock."
He's done his homework.
Has done his homework.
So what we're looking at essentially is a double bound Tele with a maple neck.
Well, I think the first thing to address is if we're looking maple neck, it's going to be a 50s guitar. Well, I saw your response, so I know where you're going with this. But like, if we deconstruct it logically, it's a 50s neck. But the double bound Teles, were there any double bound Teles in the 50s, or was that strictly a 60s innovation?
No, double bound in the 50s.
There were double bound in the 50s.
Yeah.
Are you sure about that?
Because we've had some come in.
But those custom shop guitars are guitars that don't exist. I think you're wrong. I think there was never double bound. I think the first thing they did that on was Deluxe Telecaster, which is not like a Tele Deluxe. It's like a normal Tele, but double bound.
And they were always rosewood
62
yeah,
rosewood
see,
boards.
that's what I think as well.
As far as I'm aware, that is how that works.
I agree. I think that's the case as well.
I think that guitar is a Bitzer. The Syd Barrett.
Well, that's what you said, wasn't it? Because I saw your response to Jack.
That was the point that made me most. Actually, when I was mentioned to it, was the fact that back then, I think there was just a lot of people swapping stuff around.
Yeah.
So you could just, because the thing about Fender, it has and probably always will be the fact that they are effectively modular.
Yeah.
So I think that he probably just, because there's the story of I think Jeff Beck's Esquire is actually the Tele neck from a Tele that Jimmy Page had, and I think they played a gig, and they went, "Oh, I really love that guitar," and they just unbolted the necks and bolted
them back together. I mean, that is the genius about the Fender stuff, is it was designed to be made fairly quickly, fairly efficiently, and that it was modular. If one bit broke, you could just pop on another bit. So, I mean, what are Jack's options here if he wants that? Is he going to have to buy two guitars and swap the necks over, or should he forget about the fact that it's double bound and just get a maple neck Tele?
I think it depends on what's the most important thing here. If aesthetics are the most important thing, then really you kind of need to look at the the sort of 60s spec Tele Customs.
Yeah.
I said
Deluxe Tele earlier. I meant custom Tele.
Custom, yeah. Or if sound is the most important, then you need to be looking at like a maple necked black Tele. I could suggest a very good maple necked black Tele.
I was going to say, he does mention in the email. Also, I skipped over this bit, that he's got around £800 to spend.
Well,
what are you going to recommend, Jay Cross?
There's this guitar that kind of gets overlooked a little bit every now and again. It's called the Baja Telecaster. It comes in black with a maple neck. I mean, it will give you that sound. I guess the slight drawback to the situation is, it's the Baja does have the three. The bridge construction is three brass saddles, so it's very, very 50s. You won't get the precision in sort of the intonation that you would get from a guitar that has a 6 saddle bridge.
Yeah.
But in terms of sort of the looks, then it's more or less there. It just isn't double bound.
Doesn't have the double binding. And also it's single ply scratch plate rather than a 3-ply. But you could change that over. That would take a small amount of modding. But I mean, for 800 quid, I know J Cross sounds like a broken record, but I mean, the Baja Telly is the one to go for that money. Is that right?
I think if the sound is what you want, it's definitely the most versatile one out there.
It is unfortunate that you do sort of have to. You've sort of got to go one way or another. You have to go either for the aesthetics, in which case it's probably better. I mean, I would suggest that if you look at the Telecaster, the most, if you look at like Sid Barrett's Telly, the most imposing thing there is the binding. Yeah. Because it frames that guitar. I mean, it does look great. But it does frame that guitar, and so probably look at something 60s with the double binding. Otherwise, if you want the sound, then go for the Baja.
Ian on Twitter says Line 6 automatic tone matching. How does that work? We've kind of covered this already when we were talking about the Amplify earlier, but essentially it's crowdsourced. So people at Line 6 and people who own the amps are generating tones, and then kind of linking them to the songs that they belong to. So they're making a Metallica sound and linking it to a Metallica song. And then they get voted on. You give it a mark out of 5, I think. As to how
5 stars,
how close to the tone it is, and then the one with the most 5-star votes rises to the top, and then that is matched to that song. But you don't have to use that. You can change. You can go for one of the other sounds linked to it.
One thing I don't think is on there yet, and maybe they'll update it in the future. It doesn't. As it's playing through the song, it doesn't change tones depending on different parts of the song.
It does not. No.
That's the only thing I was wondering, because you might have something with a clean intro.
No, it doesn't.
I wonder if that's something they might be able to.
I don't know how they do that though, because one of the things I noticed while I was playing is you scroll through your iTunes library. Kind of, it's built into the interface of the app, but you scroll through your iTunes library and you go, okay, because what I did earlier was I went, okay, well, what's kind of like big enough in my iTunes that will probably be on there, and I went, okay, well, like Enema of the State, the Blink-182 record, and you go, okay, cool, well look, let's play What's My Age Again, and I started playing it, I selected it, and all of a sudden the song starts, and then it gives you the options of the tones, so it's not, the tones aren't linked.
Right, okay.
In a time signature, you select the song, and then once you've selected the song, it then goes to the library of sounds and goes, okay, this is the one that people have suggested sounds like this record.
But at the moment, one of the only drawbacks to the amp I could see is that it doesn't give you multiple. It doesn't change when the tone of the song changes. You go, so it will say like Blink 182.
Which is fine for Blink 182 record.
Well, that's fine. Absolutely. Well, no, but one of the things the one that I really picked up on was when we then checked out a Weezer song. If you go to, say, My Name Is Jonas off of the Blue album, it gives you 2 options. It gives you Blue Album Drive and Blue Album Clean. So you can only do one or the other at any one time. But
unless you stop playing and then tap the song,
absolutely, changes.
Yeah.
So, but I don't think this app is designed to be that scientific and that like sort of.
I think
it could come. But that because it's all software based, it's not kind of hardwired into the amp. That could happen. You could do like song mapping where it will change automatically.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because it's Bluetooth as well. I suppose it's open to people creating other apps or other things.
I don't know really. I think to talk to the app, it will have to be the Line 6 thing. But I mean, we'll see. That's what's exciting about all this stuff. We'll see how it progresses.
It's not just using the songs in your iTunes. That's gonna allow you to have a platform to then go, cool, well, I like that sound, maybe I'll create my own sound on top of that.
Definitely. And like you were saying, the interface is really good.
The interface is brilliant. The interface is. I'm usually very averse to these sort of things. I'm a real advocate of simplicity. And normally I'm just sort of I don't really understand. It's mainly because I don't understand. That's the long and the short of it. But even I got to grips with it. I was like, oh, okay, cool. So this is how you take the compression off. It was that sort of thing.
Things like delay time are just on a slider, aren't they? So you just go, I just want my delay to be longer. I'll just slide out.
The word Space Echo is in big letters.
And you just put it on everything.
Just turn it up. It's really easy.
I'm doing this death metal song, but there's not enough Space Echo. I just need to press the J cross button.
There is. It's just there. It's great.
So let's go to Reg on Twitter. Matt, this is definitely aimed at you.
I saw this. I'm excited about this. I like this question.
I'll let you answer it.
I like when people ask this question.
Reg says, can you please explain the 4-cable method for effects pedals?
I like this. Okay.
I think it's because
let Matt do this one. We need the expert.
Okay.
Well, basically, with something, say for example, let's take a GT100.
GT100 is the case
so
in point.
GT100 is a multi-effects pedal with amp modelling. So if you imagine a signal chain, your guitar will go in, that's the first thing, and then it will run through a series of effects.
Cable number one.
Cable number one.
Guitar to multi-effects.
Pedal then has effects, preamp, power amp effectively, cab modelling, and then
when we say power amp, we're talking about modelled power amp within
a modelled amplifier in general in the pedal itself, and then output cable number 2 to
the amplifier.
So if you're using it in two cable method, standard, plug it in front of your amp,
plug
in from guitar into the pedal, out into the front of the amp that you're using on stage, the physical amp.
Yeah. Now, some effects, so say for example, you go, right, well, I'm going to turn the amp modelling off because I'm running into this wicked Engel Screaming 50 that I've got.
399.
And you're like, so I'm going to turn the amp modelling off because I've got my cool amp sound, so you've now just got effects. Now, say you go, right, I want some reverb. Some amps don't necessarily like reverb being kind of chucked straight into the front end, and you go, oh, maybe it sounds a bit mushy. Maybe if I put some delay with it, and you kind of, everything's starting to sound a bit funny. You go, my amp's got an effects loop, but I can't.
Does the Engel Screamer have an effects loop?
Yes.
We're going to go with yes.
Okay.
that was just just adding it in there. But anyway, so you go, right, I can't run it in my effects loop because I've got drive-based effects, and you can't run drive-based effects through an effects loop. So they
just sound bad, don't they?
It's because you can't really run them between the preamp and the power amp because you want them to go before the preamp because you're pushing the preamp harder with an overdrive, for example. So you need to run. You don't have to, but a lot of people like to run delays, reverbs and modulations through an effects loop because you get a cleaner sound overall. So with using the 4-cable method on a GT100 means that you can then patch out of the GT100 into the
guitar to GT100,
guitar to
cable
GT100,
1,
cable 2 GT100 to effects loop send, and cable 3 return back to the GT100,
cable 4
out into the amplifier. You can then reprogram the GT100 to then send only delays.
But you can choose which effects.
You can. Exactly.
So you can individually state that you want reverbs to go through.
Yeah, so if you actually like the
loop.
delay going in the front end, you can then run it into the effects loop on your amplifier, which then means that you can, basically, it means you can patch things into your amp as well as running drives and straight into the front. So if you're
effectively what you're doing is splitting the GT100 into 2 lots of effects.
Yeah.
So you've got essentially your drive effects, which are going from the guitar into the drive effects, out into the front end of the amp, and then the modulation effects are just running as a loop in the effects loop.
Yeah. So it's imagine having like two separate signal chains effectively, but one ignores everything apart from just the effects, and then one is kind of all your effects and your amp modelling as well if you want it.
Yeah.
So it allows people, especially because a lot of people get put off by multi-effects because they're so used to using an effects loop, or they want a smaller, they want to always take the same amp with them, but they just want to take a multi-effects for certain gigs. It's nice for that as well because you go, no, I only really like running my delays through the front end, or I only want to run my chorus. So yeah, you can do it that way. I mean, Jay had some. We had some pretty hefty. I think the first time we came across it was when we really got art.
The first time we got in
depth
with the 4-cable method was when someone came in and said, "Look, I've read about this. How does it work?" And we initially just said, "No, that you can't do that." And then went, "Oh, actually, yes, you can." And we got our Roland guy involved. He went, no, you can't do that. And we went, no, you can. And then we phoned Roland, and they went, no, you can't do that. And we went, no, you can. You can. And I think we sat there for about 2 hours.
Yeah.
And eventually we just sort of moved where the send and return was, and went,
definitely one.
It's so easy.
This isn't just Roland across the board. Sit with the manual. Just sit with the manual and work.
Well,
if you're doing full cabling,
we're really not the sort of people who just sort of go, oh, multi-fix. We know all this rubbish. We just didn't want to sit with the manual. That's literally it's literally all it came down to.
Classic move.
I've
used the pedal before. I know the manual.
As I said that, I rolled my sleeves up. Literally, as I went, I know what I'm doing. I rolled my sleeves up, which I'm almost certain is exactly what I did while I was demoing this. But it's so easy. You just move where the send and return is. There's actually an icon on the thing that's great about the GT100 is it has like a great big screen.
Yeah, 2 screens.
Well, yeah, 2 screens, which shows you where everything is in the chain, which is much better, I think, than the sort of ME series that they do, the 25 and the 80 now, where you've just got patches. With the GT100, you've got the screens there which show you where everything is in the chain, and it's very, very easy to select one and then just move it. And there's an icon which is send and return, and you just move that to the position that you want it. And because we were doing it, and it sounded awful, it sounded terrible, and then we just moved the send and return to after the drives. Yeah. And then, that sounds wonderful.
Effectively, imagine it like the Seymour Duncan Vapor Trail that's got the insert.
Yeah.
Imagine every pedal you had in your pedal board had one of those, but you can only have one. But you can put the insert on
wherever
any pedal.
you want.
So you just put it wherever you choose, and then that insert goes into your effects loop effectively.
Yeah.
Stephen on Twitter says, I've been doodling for 20 years now. I assume he means playing guitar.
Yeah, he's been drawing for 20 years. He made this amazing piece of artwork.
Stephen says, Matt Knight's face.
But I've never understood how to adjust the action for better playing. Please help. Now, this is so subjective, because adjusting the action for better playing, if you looked at my bass, you would say, why are the strings so high? I could put a London bus underneath there between the fretboard and the strings.
You punters.
That is how that's how I have better playing on my bass, is to have the action really high. It just feels better to me. I use 50 to 120 gauge strings that are like
steel rods.
They're just ridiculous. Like when you actually hold, they're like heavy when you hold the pack. Like, do you know what I mean? Like
the Dario pack is like you need to use 2 hands.
They're like too heavy for what they should be. Like that sounds weird, but they're much heavier than any other bass string because they're so much thicker than any other bass string. And for me to get the optimum like tone out of my bass and what feels good to me, the strings are so far off the fretboard. It's like we would never send a guitar out the shop like that.
No, well, it's the same. Like because you and I play hard, like we hit the strings really hard and we play quite fast. If they were any lower, they'd just be rattling around all the time.
Yeah, but some people, like today, Matt, you were playing a guitar with 8s on it.
Yeah.
Like the action was so low because the strings were like super light, and it had just been set up with a super low action. And for that guitar,
it worked
that
really
was
well.
Totally right.
Yeah.
I think often when people come in and say, I just want a low action, it's going to make my guitar better.
It doesn't necessarily.
It's not that.
I have extremely low action on my basses, and I play with flat rounds, which are extremely high tension as well. But in order to have the action low enough that I can get around the board fast enough, I kind of sacrifice my bass's acoustic playing because it buzzes all over the place, unplugged. I know you don't need to do that much, but if you received this instrument and you played it, you would think there was something wrong with it. You would send it back to the shop, but that is just how I like it. You can't hear it through an amplifier. Actually, one thing that I think a lot of people don't understand is if you want a low action, you are sacrificing that. It will be buzzing.
It will buzz,
and buzzing isn't a bad thing.
No.
I think as long as it's not coming through the amp. I mean, that's always the key test. If someone ever brings a guitar back in here and says, yeah, my guitar's buzzing, the first question I'll say is it audible through the amp? And most of the time it's not. And you just have to say to people, like, this is kind of the compromise you make, is you will get a bit of rattle up and play off the fretboard if you have your strings that low. And there are some guitars actually where that isn't true. There's like miracle guitar where you've got like amazingly low action, it's not buzzing through the amp, but you're not really hearing anything off the board. That won't happen with every guitar, and it's not like a blanket term. Like lowering the action won't sort everything out. It depends on the guitar, depends on you, depends on the strings you're using, and I mean my other thing would be generally don't try and do it yourself.
Well, I mean the thing is, right, I've got 6 or 7 guitars. And every time I bought one, unless it's buzzing due to what I would say is a setup issue, i.e. the truss rod needs adjusting, I've never changed the action.
Really?
So you play the guitar, you fall in love with the guitar. I would say, if you've got the guitar now and you've been playing it for 20 years, and you go, it feels great, I love it. Then why would you need to change the action? Because changing the action is going to make the guitar feel different, totally different. It's not gonna be better. It's just gonna, every guitar I've got, every setup I think is totally different.
Yeah, and some of them generally you would say they're not a low action, but you like how they play.
I bought the guitar because I liked how it played at the time.
See, I'm really fussy, and I have to have this particularly low action.
I mean, my vibe, man.
My 50s P bass, you have to take the neck off of the body to adjust the.
Yeah, that's also part of the reason. If I've ever had anything like that, I just don't take the neck.
Well,
off.
Exactly. No, it's a pretty scary experience.
I mean, the thing is, if it's buzzing in terms of what I would say fretting out, in terms of you're playing a note and it's not physically producing the full note, then it's usually because your truss rod is. Either it's probably too straight or too flat, and then you'll get into the point where if you don't know what you're doing, like you say, take it to a tech and let them.
I mean, that's a whole other issue, isn't it? It's a lot of the times your guitar can be improved not by adjusting the string height, but by adjusting the relief in the neck, which will have an effect on the string height. But it's not always that. It's that you're not leaving enough space for the strings to resonate in the middle of the neck.
Yeah.
And then, you go into a whole nother world of this is why you need to take your guitar to a professional tech, generally, because there's so many factors to balance out to stop, to get your guitar up to a playable standard at that point. But I mean, I would say, Stephen, if you, like Matt says, if you had the guitar for 20 years and you enjoy playing on it and you're playing on it all the time, probably lowering the action's not going to help you play better. Just more playing is going to help you play better. Just practice more.
Yeah, the only time I ever think you might need to adjust an action is sometimes maybe an acoustic. You might find, especially if you're new to acoustic, you might find the action too high because the gauge of strings are so much heavier than our electric. If you're used to electric, you go to acoustic, you might find the action. That's most of the time.
I think this is somewhere where guitars and basses are going to differ.
Yeah.
So if he's talking about a guitar,
you want the
then I think
maybe
you can leave it, but I can't. I think action is massively important on a bass guitar.
The only time that you really need to adjust it is if you can't actually fret the note. If it's so high.
If it's that high.
Or you're playing more.
But if you've got the action, Billy Sheehan, for example, has his Billy Sheehan.
Who?
You look him up.
Okay.
He has his action ludicrously low, like ridiculously low.
So low it's actually like.
But then
coming
it depends
side.
a lot.
But that's how he plays.
Exactly.
That's how he gets his speed. Now, I do think action has an impact on your playing style. The setup of your instrument's gonna, either it is going to allow you to play in a certain way or not. So I don't think it's just a case of vibe or feel or sort of just getting on with it, like kind of we're suggesting here. I think the action is gonna, if you're playing country, maybe no, you don't need to have it.
You just got to have it right for you. I think is the thing. And if you feel, I just think if you've been playing the guitar that long. And it's the same guitar for 20 years, stick with it.
Yeah.
Stick with it. It's what you're used to. Lowering it probably won't help.
I mean, the thing is, last thing, the classic story I always think for that is when we were talking to Damon from Fender, and he went to Fender put on a gig and Jeff Beck was there and he played Jeff Beck's Strat. Now, most guitar players are like, he's still one of the best players. He used like 11s and the action was like an inch off the fretboard. He couldn't even fret a chord, yet you hear Jeff Beck play and you're like, it's amazing. Yeah. So it goes to show that it's just it just varies.
Last question of the evening, because I think it will be divisive. Dave on Twitter says, if you could only buy 3 of the Boss pedals, which would it be? J Cross.
3 Space Echoes.
You can only have 1 of each.
Tuner.
Are we going to allow the tuner?
No, you can't allow a tuner. No.
That's sort of going to be one of my ones.
Why can't you have a tuner?
No, you can allow a tuner.
But like, if I can't have a tuner, then I can't play. So
because we all should have a tuner on there, and that means essentially you're choosing 2 pedals.
No, you've got a Boss B. You've been deserted on a desert island. You've got a Boss BCB 30 and a power supply and some sort of power source.
On a desert island.
Probably a pedal train Voltone, because they're a
Boss-
rechargeable power supply that you can take out with you.
if it's a Boss BCB 30, then I can only have a Space Echo and 1.
You can't even have a Space Echo.
I can't have a Space Echo.
You've got to
yeah.
have 3 compacts.
Right.
If I could only have
3 Boss pedals. Go.
Including a tuner?
One of them can be the tuner.
Okay.
3 tuners.
Just
to make sure.
It would be a.
Isn't that called a shoal?
It would be a.
Yes.
A shoulder tuner.
I'm going home.
It would be a tuner, a Space Echo, and
another tuner.
Not going for one of the adaptive.
It'll be a drive pedal. I don't know which
one.
I don't know.
You have to. You have to choose.
You have to choose.
The
Metal Zone.
Power Stack.
Good choice. Joe Branton.
Difficult for me because I don't think Boss do 3 bass pedals that I like. I'm going to go for the CS3 because I have one and I think they're great compressors.
You've got to go chorus, surely.
I will do, yes.
Yeah.
I'll go for the chorus ensemble.
Yeah, the
ensemble. I think it does a little bit more.
Not the bass one?
No, not the bass one. I think the ensemble does a little bit more.
Still got that active EQ, so you've still got a bass control to bring loads of the bass end back in.
Exactly. I like the ensemble. Third, if I've got the chorus on there, I'm going to go for the DS1 on bass.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow,
Just because you can make some. You couldn't use it as a distortion, but you can make some really cool, weird sounds with the DS1, like with a chorus sort of.
Okay.
Just the standard
bass.
DS1, not the 1X.
Just the standard DS1.
Okay.
Just because I really like that pedal is the price it is has been going as long as it has, and is as good as it is.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna go for that.
Matt Knight.
Actually, this is kind of easy. DS1X.
Yeah.
TE2. RC3.
TE2.
Yeah, Terra Echo.
Yeah,
just because
yeah.
they're really cool.
I'm just surprised you go.
I should have gone for that.
I'm surprised you're not going one of the DDs.
No, I just
so
thought
you've got the because I would have thought you would have been all about the freeze function.
The thing is, I thought if I'm going to
hold function.
Well,
sorry.
I mean, we haven't actually specified if we're on desert island, so you know. But if I was, I'd kind of want to get lost in a whirly space of tone. So
Ambient delay.
Ambient delay. So.
RC3, RC30.
No, because I'm sticking with the fact that you'd only have a BCB 30, so you can only put 3 compacts.
Is that because that's what you used to like when the plane crashed into the sea?
Yeah,
that's what
you're floating.
You're floating on the BCB 30.
Instead of all the business people with their briefcases, I just had my BCB 30.
Yeah. See, I had a BCB 60, but all I had in it was a tuner
if I wasn't going for 3 compacts, then I would probably say. Still probably a DS1X.
ME80.
3 ME80s. GT100, ME80, and...
Slicer.
I'd probably, to be honest, actually, if we're talking about delay, I'd probably put a Space Echo on there, an RC30, and... and
a DS1X.
DS1X, yeah.
I'm going to come at this from a guitar perspective, because obviously I play a bit of both, and I think it's more interesting on the guitar side of things.
Bass is boring.
No, bass is good, but I mean, for my bass sound, like I don't need any pedals.
No,
I barely even need a tuner. If I'm honest, I tune up probably once every 3 gigs, and it always seems to be in tune, so it's fine. I would go for, in terms of a drive, BD2 Blues Driver.
Cool.
Yeah, okay.
Classic. I think they haven't really changed. Again, I just respect that they still do that. I think it's a really good alternative to a Tube Screamer for a bit less money. I would go with TE2 Terra Echo.
Cool.
And I think I would go for Space Echo.
Yeah, you would.
RE20 Space Echo. I just, again, same thing. Like if we're talking about like being stuck on a desert island with some like Boss pedals, I just want the ones that are most fun.
Actually, it's the best one. It's the best pedal.
You said DD for freeze mode. TE2's got a freeze mode on it.
Does it? Okay.
Yeah, you hold it down and it goes.
Good, fine. Well, you're all right then. Good. The RE20. I'm glad that we're in agreement. I'm glad that the four of us are in agreement that the RE20 is the single best pedal ever produced.
RE20.
Blues Junior.
Basically, they should build it all into. They should build the Space Echo into the front panel.
Yeah.
No, into the guitar.
Oh yeah.
And paint it the same finish with the same control knobs on it. Yeah.
J Cross, we've found your signature model.
Fender might do it. Should we inquire?
Custom shop Baja with a tape loop built into it.
Oh, yes.
An actual tape loop.
It goes around the shape of the body.
An
circumference.
An acrylic centre body, and you can see the tape going in it.
No, it needs to be white.
Yeah.
Yeah, white top.
We'll just wear a white t-shirt.
And with that, I think it's probably time to call it a day. I want to hear people's suggestions for the 3 Boss pedals they would buy if they were stuck on a desert island. Stephen asked us, but I'm asking all of you listening now.
Dave asked us.
Sorry, Dave asked us even.
Stephen asked us about doing
Yes, that's fine. Dave asked us, but I'm asking you all now.
Boss pedals. He's drawing them.
Please do get in touch. You can get in touch on Twitter, is probably the best bet, at GAK_co_UK. Also on Facebook, facebook.com/GAK Music. Or if you want to send them to me, at Mark_random on Twitter. J Cross, how can people find you?
You can shoot me an email at j.cross@gak.co.uk, or you can send me a picture of your cat on your amp on Twitter at JAYBN1.
How is Cats on Amps doing?
The Cats on Amps is doing good. I mean,
when Rebecca Dirks sort of tweeted
it. Yeah.
It went mental for a little bit.
It did. I was getting it. Yeah. I mean, it was a lot of fun. I'm glad that she ran with it in the way that she did.
Hashtag Cats on Amps.
Yeah, she's got an awful lot of followers, and it was very exciting to see her. I mean, to be honest with you, I know a lot of people on Twitter get very excited about the interactions. You know, it's like, oh, I've got a new mention. Honestly, I'm just sort of interested in the fact that there's a cat on an amp. That's all it is.
Joe Branton, where can people find you?
If people need to get hold of me, you can email me on joe.branton@gak.co.uk, or you can tweet me at @Yosef_900 and help me out with my kind of orange heart key dilemma. Do I sell my orange rig and buy a lot more heart key gear, or do I stick with the orange and save up for an extra cab?
Matt Knight, where can people find you?
You can email me, matt.knight@gak.co.uk, or you can tweet me, matt_knightsy, that's Knight with SIE on the end, and I just want to talk about gear. Just
gear in general.
That's what we like, all the time.
Pedal boards and all that. That's good.
Gents, let's wrap this up. We'll convene again next week for more... Convene again next week for some more gear goodness.
Wonderful.
Yes.
That
Cheers.
sounds chipper.
Goodbye.
Farewell.
Bye.
I don't think we've done anything suitable for the end.
Really? There have been loads of quality moments, I think.
Yeah, maybe. All right.